I saved 2 people from a burning house. Kicked down the door, pulled them through flames, hands scorched. Fire marshal called me a hero. The whole neighborhood watched me carry that elderly couple to safety. 72 hours later, the HOA president appeared at my door in a hot pink power suit and handed me a $5,000 fine for trampling her flower beds during the rescue. I laughed. She didn't. The lawsuit came next, $12,000. Then my bank account froze. Police knocked at midnight. My business collapsed from her Facebook smear campaign. She was married to the district judge, sister to the police captain. Untouchable. Unstoppable. I lost everything. But what Margaret didn't know was that fire marshal who thanked me. He was already investigating her for something that would destroy her entire empire. The ending will leave you speechless. Watch every second. Drop a comment right now and tell me where you're watching from, because I reply to everyone. The coffee was still hot in my hand when I saw the smoke. I'm Jake, 32, former Army combat medic, volunteer firefighter. I'd bought this cabin 6 months ago after my discharge, my retirement dream. Sit on the porch every morning, watch the sun climb over those green mountains, see the lake turn from black to silver to blue. Pine trees everywhere. Grass so green it doesn't look real. Peace. Finally, that morning started perfect. June air, cool and clean. Birds doing their thing. I was planning my day, maybe fix the deck, maybe fish, when I noticed something wrong with the light. Too orange. Too thick. Smoke was pouring from the Hendersons' house 3 doors down. Black smoke. The bad kind. I didn't think. Combat medic training kicks in. You move or people die. Coffee cup hit the porch. I was sprinting before my brain caught up. Grass, gravel, asphalt. My lungs burning. The smoke was getting darker, meaner. I could hear it now. That deep roar fires make when they're eating everything. The Hendersons were 70-something. Retired teachers. Sweet people. They waved every morning. Their front door was locked. I kicked it. Once. Twice. Third time, the frame splintered. Heat slammed into my face like a physical thing. Smoke filled my throat. I dropped low, crawled inside, yelling their names. Found Mr. Henderson collapsed in the hallway. Grabbed him under the arms, dragged him out. He was heavy, dead weight. But you don't leave people behind. Not ever. Mrs. Henderson was in the bedroom, trying to get their dog. I grabbed them both, stumbled through the smoke, my eyes streaming, lungs screaming. We burst outside just as the fire trucks screamed up the street. I laid them on the grass. Checked pulses. Both breathing. The dog was barking, terrified but alive. Neighbors were everywhere now. Phones out. Filming. Crying. Cheering. Someone wrapped a blanket around my shoulders. My hands were burned, red, blistered. My shirt was ruined, covered in soot and ash. I didn't care. Fire Marshal Davis came over, gripped my shoulder. You saved their lives, son. That's heroism. I just nodded. Couldn't talk. Adrenaline crash hitting hard. The Hendersons were loaded into ambulances. Stable. Alive. Because I was home. Because I saw the smoke. Because I moved. That night, the community Facebook page exploded with praise. People calling me a hero. The local news wanted interviews. I declined. Didn't do it for attention. Did it because it was right. I went to bed that night feeling good. Really good. Then the next morning came. The certified letter arrived at 9 a.m. I opened it standing at my mailbox, still in my bathrobe. My stomach dropped. Notice of violation and fine, $5,000. Before I could process it, I heard heels clicking on pavement behind me. I turned. She was walking up my driveway like she owned it. Margaret Stone, HOA president, early 40s. Hot pink power suit, so bright it hurt to look at. Matching blazer and trousers, crisp, white blouse underneath. Hair pulled back tight. Face like carved ice. Clipboard in one hand, pen in the other. She smiled. Not friendly. Predatory. Mr. Reynolds. We need to talk about yesterday's incident. Incident. She called saving 2 lives an incident. The rescue, I said, still holding the violation notice. Yeah, the Hendersons are. I don't care about the Hendersons. Her voice was flat. Cold. I care about HOA property standards you violated during your heroics. My brain stalled. Excuse me. She clicked her pen. Consulted her clipboard. You trampled 14 square feet of HOA-maintained flower beds running to the property. You damaged the Hendersons' front door, which must meet HOA aesthetic standards. You tracked mud and ash across community sidewalks. You parked your truck facing the wrong direction during the emergency response. And she looked up, eyes dead. Your grass was half an inch above regulation height during the incident. I stared at her, waiting for the punchline. It didn't come. You're serious. Rules exist for a reason, Mr. Reynolds. This community has standards. We don't make exceptions for anyone. I saved 2 people from burning to death. You violated HOA bylaws. That's $5,000. Payment due within 10 days, or we begin foreclosure proceedings. The word foreclosure hit me like a fist. I own my home outright. Not anymore. Your property is subject to HOA jurisdiction. We hold lien rights. She stepped closer. Her perfume was overwhelming, expensive, suffocating. I should mention, my husband is District Judge Thomas Stone. My brother is Police Captain Richard Stone. I own 3 law firms in this county. So before you think about fighting this, understand who you're dealing with. My hands were shaking. Burned hands, still bandaged. This is insane. This is compliance. She produced another form, slapped it against my chest. Second violation, improper parking during emergency. Third violation, grass height exceeding 0.5 inches above regulation. You're measuring my grass? I measure everything, Mr. Reynolds. You're new here. Moved in 6 months ago. You don't understand how things work yet. She leaned close enough I could see the calculation in her eyes. I've destroyed better men than you. Men with more money, more connections, more time. They all learned the same lesson. You don't fight the HOA. You comply, or you leave. She walked away, heels clicking perfect rhythm on the pavement. I looked across the street. 3 other HOA board members stood watching, waiting, like they'd been positioned there, like this was planned. Like Margaret Stone wanted everyone to see what happens when you don't follow her rules, even when you save lives. I looked down at the violations in my hands. The fines totaled $12,000 now. My heroic rescue had just cost me everything. The lawyer letter arrived 2 days later. Certified mail. Law offices of Stone and Associates. Margaret's firm. $12,000. Due in 8 days. Foreclosure proceedings authorized to begin on day 9. I called the HOA office. Voicemail. Called again. Voicemail. Third time, a secretary picked up, said Margaret was unavailable, hung up before I could speak. I drove to the HOA administrative building. Generic office park, beige exterior, Margaret's Mercedes in the parking lot. Inside, the secretary, young, nervous, said Margaret was in meetings all day. I could see Margaret through the glass office door, sitting at her desk, scrolling her phone. She looked right at me, looked away. I left. That night, I was reading in my living room. Silent. Just me and a book. Lights dim. Someone pounded on my door. I opened it. 2 police officers. One of them was young, apologetic. The other older, bored. Noise complaint, sir. Neighbors reported loud music and shouting. I blinked. I'm reading. Alone. There's no music. The younger cop shifted uncomfortably. We still have to file a report. It's procedure. Captain's orders. Captain Stone. Margaret's brother. They left. I closed the door, hands trembling with rage. The next morning, I woke to 37 notifications on my phone. The community Facebook page. Margaret had posted at 2 a.m. Urgent community safety notice. Reckless neighbor Jake Reynolds endangered HOA property during unauthorized emergency response. Now refusing to take accountability. Has history of aggressive behavior and disregard for community standards. Please report any concerning activity to HOA administration immediately. The comments were brutal. Always knew something was off about him. We don't need that kind of element here. Thank you, Margaret, for keeping us safe. I tried to reply. My comment was deleted within seconds. Margaret had admin controls. By noon, my phone started ringing. Contractors. Clients. I ran a small handyman business, fixing decks, installing cabinets, small renovations. 3 cancellations in 1 hour. Sorry, Jake, we heard about the legal trouble. Can't risk the association. The Facebook post. We have to protect our reputation. Nothing personal, just business. My income was evaporating in real time. That afternoon, an envelope appeared in my mailbox. No postage. Hand-delivered. Inside, photographs. My house from every angle. Close-ups of my mailbox, my fence, my trees, my truck. Dozens of photos. Each one had red circles and arrows pointing at microscopic details. Red ink notes in the margins. Fence post 2 inches off level. Mailbox paint chipped. Section 4.7 violation. Tree branch extends into neighbor's airspace. Truck tire 3 inches over property line. At the bottom, in careful handwriting. We're watching. Always. I stood at my mailbox, photos shaking in my burned hands, and understood something terrible. Margaret Stone wasn't just enforcing rules. She was hunting me, and she had all the weapons. The HOA board meeting was mandatory. Margaret's email said failure to attend meant automatic fine increase. I went. The community center conference room was small, fluorescent lit, smelled like old coffee and fear. 15 residents packed in, sitting rigid. Margaret at the head table with 4 board members. All her friends, all wearing matching smug expressions. I stood, hands still bandaged. I'd printed photos of the rescue. The Hendersons being carried out. Fire trucks. The smoke. I saved 2 lives, I said. This fine is. Margaret cut me off. Your feelings are irrelevant to HOA violations, Mr. Reynolds. Sit down. I'm not finished. You are. She didn't even look at me. Board members, vote on violation enforcement and fine escalation due to noncompliance. For hands raised immediately. Motion carried. Mr. Reynolds, your fine is now $18,000. Next, I stood there, photos in my shaking hands, while she moved to the next agenda item like I didn't exist. Nobody met my eyes. The other residents stared at the table, the walls, anywhere but me. They were terrified of her. I walked out. The next morning, a county truck pulled up. Code enforcement officer, clipboard, camera. Sorry, man, he said, genuinely apologetic. Got 15 violation reports called in about your property. I have to document everything. He spent 2 hours measuring, photographing, taking notes. Mailbox wrong shade of approved colors. Fence 6 inches too tall on the west side. Unauthorized tree trimming. I cut a dead branch last month. Window shutters slightly faded. Driveway had a crack. Porch light wrong wattage. 15 new violations. HOA president filed these personally. The officer said quietly. She does this sometimes. I'm required to process them. He handed me the citation sheet and left. That afternoon, I went to my bank to withdraw money for a lawyer. My account was frozen. Lien filed against your property, sir. The banker said, reading her screen. HOA lien for unpaid fines and fees. Your accounts are locked pending resolution. I couldn't access my own money. I had $47 in my wallet. I drove home in a daze. The Hendersons were outside, watering plants. I waved, started walking over. They saw me coming. Mrs. Henderson grabbed her husband's arm. They turned, walked inside. Door closed. They were avoiding me. The people I saved from burning alive were afraid to talk to me. That evening, I went to the grocery store. A man in a suit followed me. 3 aisles. Produce. Dairy. Checkout. He kept distance, but made no effort to hide. He took photos with his phone. I confronted him in the parking lot. He smiled. Private investigator. Have a nice day, Mr. Reynolds. He drove away in a black sedan. I sat in my truck, hands gripping the steering wheel so hard my burned skin cracked and bled. Margaret was everywhere, watching everything, destroying me piece by piece. And I had no way to fight back. I hadn't slept in 4 days. Every sound outside made me jump. Every car that passed, I wondered if it was the PI. Every email, another violation. They came daily now. Mailbox inspection failed. Paint microscopic imperfection. Trash cans visible from street for 47 seconds past collection time. Car parked 1 inch into setback zone. The fines were compounding. Daily late fees. Interest. Administrative charges. Processing fees. $27,000 now. My credit score had dropped 200 points from the lien. My business was dead. No one would hire the guy in a legal war with the HOA. My savings were frozen. I was living on credit cards, and those were maxing out. Then the restraining order arrived. Margaret claimed I'd threatened her with physical violence at the board meeting. Complete fabrication. But her husband, the judge, approved it same day. I was now legally prohibited from going within 500 feet of the HOA administrative building. I couldn't even file a formal complaint. The IRS letter came next. Audit notice. Anonymous tip regarding unreported income from my handyman business. Full financial review required. Margaret's web extended to the federal government. My girlfriend Sarah called that night. We'd been together 8 months. Good. Real. Future potential. Jake, I can't do this anymore. Sarah, I didn't do anything wrong. I know, but everyone's talking. My coworkers saw the Facebook posts. My parents asked if you're dangerous. I'm sorry. I can't handle this. She hung up. I sat in my empty cabin, surrounded by violation notices, and understood I was being systematically destroyed. The foreclosure warning came by courier. 48 hours to pay $27,000 or lose my home. I had $11 in my checking account. I walked out to my porch. Same porch where this started. Same view. Mountains, lake, green grass. Paradise that had become prison. A car drove by slowly. Margaret's Mercedes. She was behind the wheel, sunglasses on, perfect hair, that hot pink suit jacket visible through the window. She saw me standing there, smiled, waved, like a queen passing a peasant. She'd won, destroyed me completely without breaking a single law. Her husband, her brother, her lawyers, her power. I was nothing, nobody, a veteran who'd saved lives and was losing everything for it. I sat down on the porch steps, pulled out my wallet, found the crumpled business card I'd shoved in there weeks ago. Fire Marshal Davis. The day of the rescue, he'd pressed it into my hand. You ever need anything, you call me. I'd forgotten about it, dismissed it as generic gratitude. But now, sitting there with my life in ruins, I looked at that card. One chance left. I had nothing to lose. I pulled out my phone, dialed. He answered on the second ring. Marshal Davis? It's Jake Reynolds, the guy who pulled the Hendersons out. Jake, what can I do for you? I took a breath. I need help. The HOA is destroying my life. And I think there's something wrong with them. Silence. Then, can you meet me tomorrow? Lakeside Diner. 7 a.m. Come alone. I'll be there. He hung up. I sat there holding my phone, watching the sun set over the mountains. Not knowing that phone call just changed everything. The Lakeside Diner was empty at 7 a.m. except for truckers and insomniacs. I sat in the back booth, 3 coffees deep, running on adrenaline and desperation. Fire Marshal Davis walked in at 7:02. 50-something, gray hair, sharp eyes. He ordered coffee, sat down across from me, studied my face. You look like hell, son. Feel worse. I pushed the stack of violation notices across the table. This is what saving lives gets you in Pinewood HOA. He didn't touch the papers, just looked at them, then at me. Jake, do you know why I gave you my card that day? Gratitude. Partially. He leaned back, sipped his coffee. Mostly because I knew what was coming. My stomach dropped. What? The state fire marshal's office has been investigating Pinewood HOA for 6 months. He said it quiet, calm, like he was discussing weather. Multiple critical violations. Blocked fire hydrants. Illegal building modifications. Falsified safety inspection reports. Someone's been covering up code violations systematically while hammering innocent homeowners into compliance. I couldn't breathe. Margaret Stone, her husband Judge Thomas Stone, her brother Captain Richard Stone, and 12 rental properties the judge owns inside the HOA, every single one violating fire code. Davis pulled out a folder. Thick, official looking. They've been operating a protection racket. The judge's properties get passes on everything. Anyone else gets destroyed. They use HOA fines to fund their lifestyle, while actual safety violations that could kill people go unreported. The Hendersons' house fire was caused by faulty wiring. Wiring that failed 3 separate inspections, but somehow kept getting approved. Davis's jaw tightened. Those people almost died because Margaret's system prioritized profit over safety. My hands were shaking. Why didn't you arrest them? We need evidence. Testimony. Someone inside who'll stand up. He slid a document across the table. You just became our key witness, Jake. Federal whistleblower protection. Full immunity. And more importantly, he smiled slightly. Margaret Stone just made her first mistake. She targeted a veteran and volunteer firefighter who saved lives. The optics are catastrophic for her. The documentation you've been keeping? That's gold. I've been documenting everything. Smart. Keep doing it. Every threat, every violation notice, every interaction. We're building a federal case. RICO charges. Conspiracy. Embezzlement. Corruption. We're taking them all down. He pulled out another folder. These are 32 other families Margaret's destroyed in 5 years. Bankruptcies. Divorces. Foreclosures. People driven out of their homes. They're all willing to testify once someone goes first. I'll do it. I know you will. That's why I gave you my card. Davis stood. Start documenting everything. We'll coordinate through my office. Don't change your behavior. Let Margaret think she's winning. We need her confident and careless. How long? Couple months. Maybe less if she escalates. He gripped my shoulder. Jake, you saved 2 lives from that fire. Now you're about to save an entire community. That's real heroism. He left cash for both coffees and walked out. I sat there, those folders in front of me, understanding finally what this was. I wasn't the target. I was the catalyst. Margaret Stone had picked the wrong victim. And now she was going down. Game on. I became a ghost. Silent. Invisible. Documenting everything. Margaret sent harassment daily. I saved it all. Screenshots. Timestamps. Recordings, legal in my state for one-party consent. Every violation notice photographed front and back. Every interaction logged with date, time, location. She thought I was breaking. I was building a case. The Hendersons were my first target. I knocked on their door after dark, when Margaret's spies wouldn't see. Mrs. Henderson opened it a crack, eyes wide with fear. Jake, we can't. I know she threatened you. I know you're scared. But I need 5 minutes. Mr. Henderson appeared behind her. Looked at me. Looked at his wife. Opened the door. We sat in their living room. I told them everything. The investigation. Fire Marshal Davis. The federal case. How their house fire was caused by violations Margaret covered up. Mrs. Henderson started crying. She said she'd condemn our home if we testified for you. Said we'd lose everything. Her hands shook. We're 74 years old. We have nowhere else to go. You won't lose anything. You'll be protected. Federal whistleblower status. I pulled out the documents Davis gave me. But I need your help. The emails she sent. The threats. Everything. They looked at each other. That married couple telepathy after 50 years together. Mr. Henderson stood. Went to his office. Came back with a folder. Every email. Every text. Every violation notice she sent us for 3 years. We kept them because we were afraid. He handed it to me. She tried to extort us. Threatened foreclosure unless we paid cash directly to her. We have proof. The folder was thick. Evidence of systematic extortion. You're heroes, I said. Again. That night, I created an encrypted Signal group chat. Found the community Facebook posts from families Margaret destroyed over 5 years. Contacted them privately. 32 people joined within 48 hours. The stories were nightmares. Bankruptcies. Divorces. Families torn apart. One veteran lost his home while deployed overseas. A single mother of 3 driven out after her husband died. An elderly man who had a heart attack from the stress. All Margaret's victims. All ready to testify. We organized quietly. Shared evidence. Built timelines. Connected dots. A reporter from the county newspaper contacted me. Anonymous tip about HOA corruption. We met at a coffee shop 2 towns over. Her name was Lisa Chun. Investigative journalist. Sharp eyes, recording equipment, already suspicious of Margaret. I gave her everything. 400 pages of documented evidence. Witness statements. Financial records the Hendersons provided. Photos. Recordings. She read through it, her expression darkening. This is Pulitzer-level corruption, she said. I'm running this story. Front page. Multi-part investigation. When? 2 weeks. I need to verify sources, get legal clearance. This is explosive. Margaret escalated that week. Filed criminal trespassing charges against me for existing in the community. Her brother, the police captain, personally served the papers. I smiled taking them. Because I had 400 pages of evidence. Because 32 families were ready to testify. Because a major newspaper was about to expose everything. Because Margaret Stone's empire was built on fear, and fear dies in sunlight. The trap was set. She just didn't know it yet. Margaret's behavior changed. Erratic. Paranoid. Like an animal sensing the trap, but not seeing it. Board meetings became inquisitions. She'd interrogate residents about conversations, demand to know who they'd talked to, threaten violations for imaginary infractions. Her voice got sharper. Her smile more forced. Something was wrong, and she felt it. The fire marshal's office sent official notice. Mandatory community-wide fire safety inspection. Every property. Every building. No exceptions. The announcement went out at the monthly HOA meeting. Margaret's face drained of color reading it aloud. Her hands trembled holding the paper. She tried to maintain composure, but I saw it. Terror. Real terror. This is routine, she said, voice tight. Nothing to worry about. were fully compliant. Nobody believed her. The room felt different. Residents were whispering, making eye contact with each other instead of staring at tables. The fear was cracking. 3 days later, another letter arrived. State Attorney General's Office. Investigation into HOA financial irregularities. Anonymous report of embezzlement. Full audit authorized. I watched from my porch as Margaret got her mail that morning. Watched her open that letter. Watched her knees almost buckle. She looked around, wild-eyed, like someone was watching. I stepped back into shadow. She rushed inside, phone already at her ear, screaming at someone. Judge Thomas Stone requested emergency leave of absence that afternoon. Official statement cited personal matters. Rumors exploded, ethics investigation, financial improprieties, corruption allegations. Margaret's protection was crumbling. The newspaper published Part 1 on Sunday morning. Front page. Full spread. HOA reign of terror. One community's 5-year nightmare. Lisa Chen's investigation was devastating. Interviews with destroyed families. Financial analysis showing pattern of exploitation. Timeline of Margaret's threats. Photos of the violations she ignored on the judge's properties while destroying others. It went viral locally within hours. Regional news picked it up by afternoon. National outlets were calling by evening. My phone exploded. Supportive messages from strangers. Interview requests. People sharing their own HOA horror stories. Margaret's lawyer quit. Public statement cited irreconcilable differences with client. Translation. He knew she was finished and wanted distance. I sat on my porch watching news vans arrive in the community. Reporters interviewing residents. Cameras everywhere. Margaret's Mercedes stayed in her driveway. Curtains drawn. Hiding. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Text message. Just a photo. Margaret screaming at her husband in their driveway. She looked unhinged. Hair messy. Still wearing that hot pink suit, but wrinkled now, stained. Her face twisted in rage and terror. The message below. Karma's coming. I didn't know who sent it. Didn't matter. The entire community was turning on her. The hunter had become the hunted. Emergency HOA meeting was called for Friday night. Margaret's last stand. Community Center, 7 p.m. I marked my calendar. Put on my best suit. Printed every piece of evidence. Marshal Davis texted, "It's time. Bring everything. We're ending this." Friday came. I drove to the community center at 6:45 p.m. The parking lot was packed. Over 200 residents. News cameras. Police. State investigators. This was it. The final confrontation. I walked inside, evidence binders under my arm, and saw Margaret at the front. She saw me. Our eyes met. She knew. The community center was chaos. Every seat filled. People standing against walls. News cameras in back. The air was electric with anticipation. Margaret stood at the podium, trying to control the narrative. Her hot pink suit was pristine again, but her eyes were wrong. Desperate. Cornered. This meeting is called to address false allegations and media distortions. The back doors opened. Fire Marshal Davis walked in. 3 state investigators behind him. Official badges visible. They moved like a strike team. The room went silent. Davis walked to the front, carrying a document folder. He didn't ask permission, just stepped up to the microphone. "Margaret Stone, I'm serving you with official notice. Pinewood HOA has 47 critical fire code violations across community properties. Blocked hydrants. Illegal modifications. Falsified inspection reports." He opened the folder, read from it. 12 properties owned by Judge Thomas Stone are in severe violation, posing immediate danger to residents. Criminal charges are being filed. Margaret's face went white. You can't. We can. We did. We have evidence dating back for years. The Attorney General representative stepped forward next. Older woman, steel in her voice. "Margaret Stone, you're also facing charges of embezzlement. $340,000 misappropriated from HOA funds over 4 years. Traced directly to your personal accounts. Luxury purchases, home renovations, international travel, all funded by fines you collected from residents while claiming budget shortfalls." Gasps rippled through the room. Margaret grabbed the podium. "This is a conspiracy. Jake Reynolds orchestrated this because he couldn't follow simple rules." I stood up, walked to the front. The crowd parted. I placed my evidence binders on the table. 3 of them. Thick. Organized. Labeled. Conspiracy. I opened the first binder. "Here's a timeline of your harassment. documented threats, violation notices, police calls. All after I saved 2 lives from a fire caused by violations you covered up. I played a recording. Margaret's voice, crystal clear. I've destroyed better men than you. You'll comply or leave. Open the second binder. Here are emails you sent to the Hendersons, threatening to condemn their home unless they paid you cash directly. That's extortion. Open the third binder. Here are testimonies from 32 families you systematically destroyed. Bankruptcies, divorces, foreclosures, all documented, all ready to testify in federal court. Margaret was shaking. You can't do this to me. You did this to yourself. Police officers entered. 2 of them. Not her brother. He'd been suspended pending investigation. They walked toward Margaret. She backed away from the podium. I'm married to a judge. You can't arrest me. My husband will. Your husband was arrested 2 hours ago, the lead officer said. Corruption charges. He's downtown in custody. Margaret screamed. Actually screamed. No, this isn't happening. Jake Reynolds is nobody. He's nothing. The officer pulled out handcuffs. Margaret Stone, you're under arrest for embezzlement, extortion, fraud, and conspiracy. They cuffed her while news cameras recorded everything. Her hot pink suit wrinkled as she struggled. Mascara running down her face. Screaming my name like a curse. The unstoppable villain just got stopped. The community erupted in applause. I stood there, watching her get let out in handcuffs, and felt something I hadn't felt in months. Relief. Justice. 3 months later. Federal courthouse. Downtown. The building was all marble and gravity, the kind of place where careers end and empires fall. I sat in the witness box. 30-plus homeowners packed the gallery. News cameras lined the back wall. Judge Marcus Rodriguez presided, brought in from out of district because every local judge had conflicts with Thomas Stone. Margaret sat at the defense table. Orange jumpsuit instead of hot pink suit. Hair flat. Face pale. Her lawyer looked exhausted. The prosecutor was a woman named Amanda Wright. Federal attorney. Sharp as broken glass. Mr. Reynolds, tell the court what happened after you rescued your neighbors from the fire. I told them everything. The fines. The harassment. The systematic destruction. My voice steady, clear. I'd practiced this. Wright presented evidence. Violation notices. Recordings. Photos. Financial records. And Mrs. Stone specifically targeted you because you're a veteran? Yes. She targeted veterans, elderly residents, and minorities. There's a pattern. Margaret's lawyer objected. Overruled. The Hendersons testified next. Mrs. Henderson cried, describing Margaret's threats. She said she'd take our home. We're 74 years old. We had nowhere to go. Mr. Henderson showed the emails. Extortion. Clear. Documented. Undeniable. She demanded $5,000 cash to make violations disappear. We paid because we were terrified. The gallery murmured. Judge Rodriguez's expression hardened. A forensic accountant took the stand. Explained how Margaret embezzled HOA funds. She purchased a Mercedes, remodeled her kitchen, took vacations to Tahiti and Paris, all while telling residents there was no budget for community improvements. Total misappropriation, $340,000. Charts appeared on screens. Money trails. Bank records. Credit card statements. Margaret bought designer clothes with HOA money while families lost their homes. The prosecutor's kill shot came next. We recovered Mrs. Stone's personal emails from her computer. Wright projected them on the courtroom screens. Margaret's words, her actual words. Make his life hell until he begs to sell. Destroy him completely. I want him bankrupt. Use the police, use code enforcement, use everything. He needs to suffer. The courtroom went silent. Premeditated. Psychological warfare. Documented in her own words. Margaret put her head in her hands. Her lawyer tried damage control during cross-examination. Failed miserably. Judge Rodriguez didn't need long to deliberate. Margaret Stone, you exploited your position of trust to systematically abuse and extort vulnerable community members. You embezzled hundreds of thousands of dollars. You weaponized government systems for personal vendettas. This court finds you guilty on all counts. He slammed the gavel. 8 years federal prison. $500,000 restitution to victims. Permanent ban from HOA management. Margaret collapsed. Sobbing. Guards lifted her up. Her husband got 12 years in a separate trial. Corruption, falsifying official documents, abuse of judicial authority. Captain Richard Stone, Margaret's brother, fired from police force, under investigation. The Stone Empire didn't just fall. It was obliterated. I walked out of that courthouse into sunshine, surrounded by families Margaret had hurt. We'd won. Actually won. Justice existed after all. The special election happened 6 weeks after Margaret's conviction. HOA president position. Emergency vote. I didn't want to run. I wanted peace. My cabin. My coffee. My mountains. But 32 families asked me. The Hendersons asked me. Marshal Davis asked me. Someone good has to do it, Mrs. Henderson said. Or another Margaret will rise. I ran unopposed. Unanimous vote. I became HOA president. First official action, emergency board meeting. I abolished every fine Margaret had created. Returned embezzled money to homeowners. Proportional distribution based on what they'd lost. Rewrote the bylaws emphasizing fairness, transparency, community input. Second action, invited Fire Marshal Davis to conduct free safety inspections. Fixed every violation. Made the community actually safe instead of just compliant. Third action, removed Margaret's portrait from the HOA office. Replaced it with a mission statement I wrote by hand. Community first. Always. The transformation was immediate. Families started smiling again. Kids played by the lake without parents looking over shoulders. Neighbors helped neighbors instead of reporting them. The Facebook page filled with positivity, garden photos, barbecue invitations, genuine community. We threw a celebration at the Lakeside Pavilion. 4th of July. Whole community showed up. Grills smoking. Kids running. Music playing. Mountains reflecting in the lake. Green grass. Green trees. That perfect paradise I'd moved here for. The Hendersons brought me homemade apple pie. Mrs. Henderson hugged me, crying. You saved our lives twice. Once from fire. Once from her. Local fire department presented me with a Civilian Medal of Valor. Not just for the rescue, for exposing corruption that endangered the entire community. You didn't just save 2 people, Chief Martinez said. You saved hundreds. That's true heroism. Lisa Chun won a state journalism award for her investigative series. It sparked statewide HOA reform. 12 other corrupt HOAs exposed and dismantled. New laws passed protecting homeowners from predatory practices. My case became the catalyst. My phone buzzed. Sarah, my ex-girlfriend. Jake, I saw the news. I was wrong. I'm so sorry. Can we talk? I looked at the message. Thought about it. Decided I'd call her later. Maybe. Maybe not. Some bridges burn for a reason. I stood on that pavilion deck, watching the sunset paint the mountains gold and purple. Families laughing. Kids safe. Community healed. My business was thriving again. Clients returning, apologizing, begging for my services. My home was mine. Free and clear. No liens. No threats. Margaret's photo had been removed from every HOA document. Like she'd never existed. But we'd never forget. Because that's how you prevent the next Margaret Stone. You remember. You document. You stand up. I took a sip of cold beer, watched the stars appear over the lake, and felt something I hadn't felt since that first morning on my porch. Peace. Real peace. Finally, 6 months after Margaret's sentencing, a letter arrived at the HOA office. Official state seal. Governor's letterhead. New homeowner protection laws passed. Named in my honor, the Reynolds Act. Comprehensive reforms limiting HOA power, requiring transparency, protecting whistleblowers. Margaret's case was being taught in law schools. Cautionary tale about abuse of power. Her story had become a warning. Mine had become a blueprint. The elderly couple's granddaughter graduated college that spring. Berkeley. Full scholarship. At the ceremony, she thanked me in her speech. My grandparents stayed in their home because one man had courage. That taught me everything about standing up for what's right. I sat in the audience, crying. Mrs. Henderson squeezed my hand. I started a nonprofit. Homeowner Justice Project. Free legal assistance for families fighting corrupt HOAs. Funded by donations and my own money. First year, we helped 500 families nationwide. 190% of cases. Turned out my experience wasn't unique. It was epidemic. But now we were fighting back. Organized. Connected. Powerful. One afternoon, working at the HOA office, I got an email notification. Prison correspondence system. Margaret Stone. Writing from federal prison. I almost deleted it. Opened it instead. 3 pages of bitter rambling. No apology. No remorse. Just rage about how I destroyed her life, ruined her reputation, taken everything from her. You were nobody. You should have just paid the fine and moved on. This is your fault. I read it once, printed it, burned it in my fireplace that night. She was my past. Ancient history. A cautionary tale. I had work to do. Marshal Davis called. Jake, got another case. HOA in Riverside County. Veteran just deployed overseas. They're trying to foreclose on his family. Sound familiar? I'm on my way. I grabbed my evidence kit, my laptop, my files. Drove 3 hours to Riverside. Met the veteran's wife. Terrified. 2 kids. Facing the same nightmare I'd survived. I sat at her kitchen table and said the same thing Fire Marshal Davis told me. You're not alone anymore. We're taking them down. Her eyes filled with tears. You really think we can win? I know you can. Because I did. And I'm going to help you do it too. That's what heroes do. Not just survive, but turn around and pull others up behind them. I drove home that night, mountains silhouetted against stars, and understood something profound. Margaret Stone tried to destroy me for saving lives. Instead, she taught me how to save hundreds more. Funny how that works. Justice, community, courage. That's the formula. That's how you win. If you've got an HOA horror story, drop it in the comments below. You're not alone. We're the community that fights back. And if this story moved you, hit that like button. It helps others find this and know they can fight back too. Justice always wins. Always. Subscribe because next week, we're exposing the HOA that tried stealing a deployed soldier's home while he was serving overseas. Trust me, you won't believe what happened next.